I was not ready to give up on making my own conductive carbon yet, but the stainless steel bowls I was using as a crucible got a hole burned in them from the high heat of the torch, and my propane tank is almost empty. I found a piece of steel pipe, an end cap, and a piece of flat steel and constructed a heavier crucible for these experiments. I basically just used what I had available, but it is around 2 inch or 5 centimeters inside diameter. The length is almost 7 inches or 18 centimeters. I drilled a hole in the end cap to let the gases escape but not allow much oxygen back inside to slow the burning of my charcoal. The hole is around 3/16 of an inch or a little over 4 millimeters. The pipe crucible doesn't hold much more than the bowls I had been using. I ground up 4 charcoal briquettes and mixed that powder with half as much baking soda by volume, just like I had been doing. This was put into the pipe. It filled the pipe about 3/4 full. The cap was screwed on and it was placed into a coal furnace fire. The coals were moved around to heat the crucible better and it was left to cook. I checked on it a half hour later and the bottom of the pipe was glowing red hot and a flame was shooting out the hole in the top, so this idea looks promising. If this works, it will eliminate the fuel cost since it is winter here and the furnace is burning anyway. I still have the cost of the purchased charcoal briquettes, but that would be eliminated if I had used waste materials. The baking soda or other activating chemical is pretty cheap and it could be recovered for reuse if I was doing large amounts. It still depends on how my homemade carbon compares to the commercial activated carbon, whether it is worth making the carbon myself, but it is a fun experiment and the process could be scaled up to increase my production if it turns out to be worth doing. The small battery I made in the last video is holding a charge a lot longer than before, but I don't know if the thinner separator made the difference or if the homemade conductive felt is just better than painting the carbon directly onto the graphite foil. I stacked 2 cells together and that increased the voltage, so the light was a more usable brightness. They will need to be larger to get the working time longer, but the results are good enough to keep me encouraged to keep experimenting. Getting back to my pipe crucible. After 1 hour in the furnace, the flame was no longer coming out of the hole, so the volatile gases must have been burned out of the original charcoal. I took the glowing pipe out of the fire and noticed that it appears to be hotter than I had been getting the whole thing when I was using propane, which was not surprising. I put a nail in the top hole to help limit the air getting in and took it outside to cool it quickly in the snow. It might have been better to let it cool slower, but I wanted to get this video done and was impatient to see if it worked. It still took a while to cool even packed in snow, but I finally got it cool enough to open. I still need to wash the activating chemical out of it, but the initial test was really good. It looks like I have achieved my goal of single-digit resistance.